7. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Michael 7 Michael. You're watching Geekcaster, everything geek culture as well as commentary. And today we've got...
Hi guys.
Hello.
This is Bevan.
Jamie, hello.
So today we're going to talk about nerd titles. There's a very interesting article, Netflix. They're hiring people, and actually one of the titles is nerd.
Which I thought was really cute.
Is that cool or offensive at this point?
Well, actually, I think it's cool, but I'm also confused about what they mean by it. You have to read it to figure out that they're just calling people in the IT department nerds, which is fine and all, but like it means that if I want the job title nerd, I don't qualify.
Yeah, I wouldn't qualify for that either. But I also feel like that's a title that we deserve to keep.
Right.
Yeah, that's... Come on, Netflix. I don't know. I don't like it.
I mean, I think it's cute and all, but I think if you're going to have a job title called nerd, I don't know. That's a broad stroke.
Yeah.
It's a very broad stroke for that.
Yeah, it's like saying fan.
Fan.
Yes, we want you to hire fans.
Because nerd can mean so many different things.
You
it can mean anything. You can be a nerd for cannons.
Yeah.
You can be, look, I'm saying that because I'm staring at a cannon.
I thought you meant like somebody who gets shot out of a cannon in the circus.
Yeah,
I don't know why that was my first thought.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a nerd for that.
I'm sure somebody is.
Oh, look, there it is.
And you know what? I've actually searched for nerd as a job and a geek just to see what would come up. And it's starting to come up, which is interesting. But they basically just want to say IT.
Uh-huh.
So.
But that's also them putting an extreme specific definition of what a nerd is. Right. They're saying you're not a nerd unless you are IT.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm not. I'm not. Does that mean I can't call myself a nerd now?
No. Netflix doesn't rule the titles of
But I mean, like, is
identity.
that what Netflix is trying to tell me? It's like, you're not a nerd in our eyes unless you're IT.
Yeah. I also feel like if I was an IT person, I would be kind of offended. Even, like, as someone who identifies as a nerd, what's a stupid thing to say? But,
I identify as nerd.
Yes. But if you're in IT, you probably worked really hard to learn that stuff and get that stuff. I wouldn't want to just be cornered as like, oh, I'm a nerd because I like tech stuff or whatever.
See, I think of nerd as more, like it's like when you're naming the type of person that you are. I'm like, oh, I'm a female nerd, geek, musical theater person, like that comes from Texas.
Yes.
Like, there's all these adjectives that describe who I am, and I feel like nerd has just been one element of that.
Yes.
I feel like for an IT person, they'd be like, well, wait, I'm so much more than that.
Yes. I'm sure most IT people are nerds. It's just that it's not because they're IT people.
Yeah.
That's just another factor.
Most IT people could probably be nerds for video games. I hear a lot of them play computer video games.
I'm sure.
To just pass the time. I know a couple of IT people, and that's what they do.
Oh. I don't know anybody in IT. So I can't speak to that.
Well, I guess you're not a nerd then.
I guess not.
But, I was going to ask you, do you classify yourself more as a nerd or a geek?
So this is an interesting conversation. I think if you are really pompous with like knowledge, that's more considered a nerd. A geek is someone that is obsessed or loves something a lot.
I agree. I think I would probably be more of a geek, but I think the word nerd is, I don't know, more romantic. I like the title nerd more, but I think your description is correct.
Yeah.
And I think that geek is probably a more accurate description.
Yeah, a nerd is somebody that people would say to somebody if they like overcorrected somebody on your grammar. Be like, all right, grammar nerd. Like, it's actually spelled this way, and actually you're supposed to put a comma at the end, or maybe an asterisk, or so. Like, they'd be like, all right, nerd. Like, that's what you say. And then, like, if you're like, oh my God, Star Wars is amazing, and I love Princess Leia, and I have, like, all of her different types of outfits over here, then it's like, all right, you're a geek.
Yes. Yeah, and I feel like it's changed a lot. Like in the 90s, your nerds would have been your Urkels and your like Screeches.
The really, really smart.
But back then it was
Velma.
like brainy, like Brainiac. This guy. Yeah.
Oh, like Dexter.
It's an ever-changing language. This language of ours.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would definitely call Dee Dee a geek and Dexter a nerd.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah. Michael, what about you?
I feel more comfortable with the term. I would say I feel more comfortable with
What's
the
that
term.
photo say? Geek versus nerd.
Yeah, geek versus nerd. Okay. Yeah, let me punch that up. But yeah, I feel. Whoops.
That's a blue screen.
That's a blue screen. And we're live, folks. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, here we go.
Definitely called Looney Tunes geeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how you see different things break it down.
What was your answer?
Oh, geek. Definitely.
Okay. I mean, you did name the show Geekcaster.
I was say, he's wearing a Geekcaster hat.
Yeah.
I would not have been.
That has
shocked.
a better ring than Nerdcaster, too, I think.
I mean, I'm just into stuff way too much. Like, talk like sound production. I'm definitely a geek for like audio, like an audio geek. And write and produce music and that kind of stuff. But I'm not socially inept. Like I could hang out.
Oh, man.
I'm actually kind of fun when you think about
He
it.
could be on a softball team.
I hope no one in IT is watching.
Exactly.
No, I love IT people. I'm just trying to give more IT people credit that they are more than just the term
you're
nerd.
right. And I'm sure they're not all socially inept.
Right.
Oh, man.
Because I think that's why Urkel was like such a good representation of just the outside view of what a nerd is, and how people would think that you just can't get it together with other humans. You're just a little off.
But he eventually did.
But he eventually did.
To be fair.
To be fair,
yeah.
that's our opinion. We'll stick into it.
And pretty much. So let's go with, there's another interesting article. Let's see. And this had to do, Chris Hardwick. What was he talking about? Talking about toxic nerd culture.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I think it's a real thing. I just want to be careful that we're not coding over a broad stroke that it's everywhere in every type of nerd culture.
Right.
I mean, I feel like sometimes articles, in order to sell it more, over exaggerate things. Like, I do think it's a real thing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think it's maybe dependent on certain like fandoms or sections. Like I know with Gamergate, like that's a big problem.
Yeah.
I know the Star Wars fandom should be called out.
Well, they are getting called out by
Yeah.
own Star Wars fans. I mean, like
Really?
the whole thing that's happened with Kelly Tran, a lot of like even Mark Hamill came out and said, "You do not do this." A lot of my people that are Star Wars fans on my newsfeed have said this is embarrassing.
Yeah, it's certainly not everybody, but it's.
Yeah.
I on multiple occasions because I have a Leia tattoo.
Right.
And men have literally seen my tattoo, complimented it, and then started quizzing me. As if, because I'm a woman who likes Star Wars, as if it's like, I got this tattoo from this thing I sort of know about, but I don't have a lot of knowledge. Like, what insane person would get a tattoo on their body of of something they don't actually like?
Yeah.
But to be quizzed, I don't have to prove I like Star Wars to you, and that happens a lot to me.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a thing. I guess I've been fortunate to where whenever somebody discovers that I'm a nerd, they get really excited and then they just want to talk to me about it. Because I think the one thing that is going around is that like there's not a lot of female nerds, and there are.
Yeah. Oh.
So, and I get it because it's a male-centric, heavy kind of lifestyle, but like more and more females are coming out, embracing their geek, embracing their nerd. So, and I think men are just overly excited about that. But yeah, there are definitely some that go too far. Luckily, I've not really seen them in person. I've only just seen these things sometimes on the internet. But what I will say is encouraging is that when you see that happen on the internet, there's people immediately shutting it down right away.
Sure, but I think that it's still enough of a problem where, I mean, and Chris Hardwick's there's such a deeper level to that as well. I mean,
Why do you say that?
well, I mean, what he was accused of isn't just being like a toxic nerd dude. I mean, he's accused of being
Sexual
emotionally
misconduct,
abusive.
Oh,
And
wow.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Chris Hardwick that's the problem right now is that an ex of his came forward on social media, I think.
Yeah, she wrote an article.
She wrote an article on social media saying that he abused her, she was mistreated, and she didn't really say his name, but she dropped enough hints that people could connect the
people
dots.
knew it was him.
Yeah, and then because of that, his show has been suspended. And
wait, The Talking Dead?
Yeah, it's been suspended.
Oh, wow.
And he also is the CEO of Nerdist, but I think his contract was up.
Yeah,
because
I think he sold it maybe,
Yeah.
and so but they dropped him completely.
They dropped him completely. And I'm a little bit on the fence about this stuff a little bit because I'm a firm believer of innocent until proven guilty, and but I also know that this kind of situations are so hard to prove or disapprove because it's very much a he said she said kind of thing, and I kind of want us to I don't want to ruin somebody's life until there is enough evidence that he should go to hell. Like Harvey Weinstein, there is mile-high pile of
Sure,
evidence.
but I don't know if the two are necessarily comparable. And I
don't think they're comparable.
I think an important. It's like believe women. That's an important thing to go after. But also, I don't understand why anyone would write something like that. Like it's not like you're getting positive attention. But also from what I've seen just on Twitter, people who work for Chris Hardwick I've seen so many tweets that were like, "Oh, I know Chris Hardwick, and I 100% believe that this is true."
And that's that's what I mean. Like I'm a big fan of evidence.
Yeah.
Like I don't. I also just know in this business that there's a lot of manipulative women out there as well. But not to go against women. I'm not. But I just want to make sure that before we condemn somebody, it's like less McCarthyism and witch hunt.
Well,
And
isn't that part of the problem too? There's no measuring stick of incidents. It's kind of like anything, whether it be just something inappropriate, whether it be a touch, whether it be full-on rape or straight manipulation of someone's career, their livelihood, they're all bundled into one.
There are definitely degrees. I do think
I'm saying that degrees do exist.
Yeah.
But it all falls into this quick blanket of me too, me too, me too, and that's it. And once you hear it, at least how it's pushed through the media, like marketing wise, it's just like everybody's under the same thing. And the reason why I pretty much noticed this was because when you look at some of the men that started to stick up for women and their wives and other situations that they observed, they were shut down. Remember Matt Damon started sticking up, and then someone said, well, you did this and this and that. All of a sudden it became quiet. Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, I've read, has...
Yeah.
Well, and Matt Damon was saying some obtuse things.
No, but I'm just saying that there were a bunch of men that all of a sudden, very early on, wanted to stand by and I guess nobody's perfect, I guess,
I think a reason why I'm so inclined to believe whenever these stories come out is because I think that a man in power, especially a nerd who probably grew up not getting the attention they think they deserve, I believe that these men abuse their power.
That was in the article.
Whether it's an extreme sexual abuse type of a thing, or even just using it to get what you want, and like you said, like we said, varying degrees.
Well, I also think too it comes down to education. I think the root of the problem in general is how we educate men and women on sex. Like in our country, we have a huge taboo problem with sex.
Oh, I agree.
And parents are kind of intimidated, and schools are intimidated to kind of teach boys and girls this is the proper way to court each other. This is the proper way to say no. This is the proper way to say, because boys are raised that they have to be the aggressor and women have to play hard to get. And I think that has just ruined our culture of not ruined, that's a very strong word, but I think it hinders our culture. Right. It damages our culture in terms of vocabulary that men and women have to use.
I think we spend too much time trying to teach girls don't wear spaghetti strap shirts, don't wear short skirts because it distracts the guy. We don't spend enough time teaching the guy don't objectify women. It's women, girls, whatever, should be allowed to wear whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I remember being in high school and being really bothered because I grew up in Florida. It's hot.
Yeah.
It's really hot, and to not be able to like wear certain things because it might
Wait,
distract
say it again? What's the weather?
It's hot.
No, it's hot. Extra steak on
No,
it.
honey, I'm from Houston, Texas. It's
Yeah.
like 90%
You
humidity.
get it exactly, and oh man, it really burned me growing up that that was a thing.
Yeah, but also I think you hit a really interesting word. It's communication. I don't know where we got this from, but somehow we've been taught to pull the girl's hair in front of like doing these, like you said, aggression,
and
these different things to get attention. And again, that doesn't justify anything, but I think that parents, I don't know. I think as creatives.
Hold on. As somebody that likes it a little caveman style, I do.
There you go.
I do enjoy a good hair pull.
Ladies and gentlemen.
But you should ask permission first.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, but it's also again going back to communication with men and women. It is my responsibility to communicate when I want that.
Yes, exactly.
Like I'm supposed to tell a man what I like and what I don't like. Like a man's supposed to be inquisitive. What is this girl into? Because I know plenty of women that are really into S&M and BDSM and like dressing a certain way. Like it makes them feel good. It makes them feel sexy. If it's about empowering them, then I'm all for it.
Agreed.
Right? And if the man, and then it's them giving permission to a man to be like, you can enjoy this because that's going to make me enjoy it. And by the way, bite me. You know?
Well, look at anime, for example.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, super sexualized art form.
Yeah, Sailor Moon, 14-year-old girls, well developed. What?
Man, I didn't
how does
realize
that
until I was an adult how much Sailor Moon affected me in my youth in a positive way.
But yeah, I mean, like it's all around us, and I think men and women fall into this very interesting game of bad communication.
But I think it comes down to parents too. Like parents, teach your sons not to pull a girl's hair. Teach your sons they shouldn't ever touch a girl ever without permission.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, unless they ask for it.
Yes, you need permission. Yes,
Don't you take away Bev's pull hair.
No, again, permission. That's what you need to teach your kids.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want a random stranger coming up to me and pulling my hair.
What's your mic?
My mic?
Yeah. But no, that's funny.
Sorry, I was kidding. I was pulling on the mic.
Don't pull the mic unless the mic says you can pull.
Unless the mic gives me permission.
Yes.
Oh man. So wouldn't that be the bringing it back to geek content? We're a part of this. We're a part of the problem because we're constantly either creating or supporting content that supports not treating everyone the way they're supposed to be treated.
I'm definitely guilty of still watching certain things that feature people that are bad people. I'm trying to not be specific, but I am guilty of that, and it's like they're kind of grandfathered in a way. Like I never want these people to ever make anything new again, but there are certain things I've loved my whole life, and it's hard to give up.
This is how I justify that. Is that in order to make content, there's so many people that go into making it. So in my eye, I'm not going to let one person destroy the hundreds of people that it took to make just one episode.
I think it depends on the like, for example, Louis C.K. is an example. His stuff is pretty much just him.
Right.
So he's a little easier, I guess, to cut out. I don't know. But I think like an example is American Beauty has always been one of my favorite movies. And you're right. There's so much more to that movie than just Kevin Spacey. But also, he's most of it. So it's a hard
He's the
toss-up.
lead, but he's not the one that did the scoring, the editing, the directing, the writing, the cinematography. He wasn't, all of the extras that were on it, all the other actors, all the crew members. Like, I think of that, and those are the people I support because they're just making a living and they're just trying to make art work. And yes, he was the title character in that film, but he's not the be-all of end-all of that film.
No, I think you're right. And I think that, again, it's like that grandfathered in thing where if somebody was to hire him and cast him in a movie now, then no, I wouldn't see it. But that's not going to happen, I don't think, ever. But but it is difficult to be like, I'm never going to watch this again. Right. But then there are some things that are just permanently ruined.
But also, you got to look at it, too. Read the credits. Yeah. It's not a bunch of just men with these productions. Even in the music industry, we always, or say we always, but you see a lot of conversation about how women are treated within different genres of music. But they're women CEOs, they're women A&R, they're women producers.
But not as much as there should be.
Not as much as there should be, but in a lot of time, like for instance, some of the most we won't go through the list, but someone was going through the most classic songs that were not necessarily favorable to women, and you wouldn't want your daughter or your niece or someone listening to it. But the A&R was a woman, or the CEO were women of some of these really large
this
hits.
is where I will back him up a little bit, because again, I have experienced just as much bullying from women. Mm-hmm. In fact, sometimes in my childhood, I was bullied more by women than I was by men.
Believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. I think another problem going back to like childhood and youth is women at a young age are kind of taught to
be competitive.
with it, which like sucks.
It does suck. Again, that goes down to communication and trying to bring more love than competition. Especially in like any sort of entertainment industry, women are just competitive by nature because there's this belief that there's not enough jobs for all of us.
Yes.
So therefore, take her down, be the skinniest, be the prettiest. There's so many stories of women actresses seducing men to get roles because they think that's the only way they're going to get parts.
And a part of that too is like men taking advantage of that, and it's a vicious cycle.
And then it's like it kind of just keeps going in this cycle of like, well, men are like, well, look, she's putting herself on me. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, it's not always about assault. Sometimes it's just an abuse of power.
Yeah, it's an abuse of power. Yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah.
I definitely, and it's like, I always like to try and be fair of like, there are some times where it is the woman's fault, and there's a lot of times when it's the men's fault. So it's like, for me, whenever I see a new case, like Morgan Freeman got accused recently, and he was like demanding an apology because he said, oh no, it's not true. And it's like, guys, we got to start getting smarter on how to handle these cases. Like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you get evidence about something that goes on behind closed doors. Maybe body. Maybe how they talk about how Alexa and there's so many things that could like that are recording you in your home. Sometimes, and I'm not for it, but like sometimes
don't say it. Stop it. Because it's happening. This iRobot error.
I know.
I think it's a problem that's why I said believe women, because what else can we do? But you're right. Sometimes it's not always black and white, but we're living in a rough time and hopefully we'll get over the hump, and men like that will just stop getting hired.
Like, I will say what was encouraging with the Aziz Ansari story is that a lot of women came out against this article and did not think that Aziz Ansari should have his career ruined.
No, and I agree with that. Yeah. And I think that, and I'm an Aziz fan, and I believe that he is probably a little like swarmy or whatever, but he didn't do anything. He made someone uncomfortable, which happens. But I agree. I don't think it's a career-ending story.
And again, to be fair, for anyone out there that does not know anything about that story, in short, he was at an event, a photographer started talking, female photographer started talking, went back to his place. They did whatever they did. They had no clothes on. So it's like, at what point did she feel uncomfortable? But for whatever reason, she did not want to actually have intercourse.
He didn't make her.
And he did not make her. And eventually
he sent her home.
He sent her home. And then she wrote an article and, kind of slammed him.
I think this comes back to communication, because I completely believe that she was uncomfortable with that situation, and I completely believe he didn't know she was uncomfortable or didn't realize, and maybe she did say it, and I don't know. I do think that we have, and I've communicated things to men and gotten terrible responses back.
Right.
And so sometimes I have, that's why I just don't date anymore. Men.
I just give up.
My Tinder's sent to the ladies for a reason. I'm done with you men.
Wow. Wait a minute. Who messed it up for everybody?
It's fine. I love men too much. We'll make it happen. I'll be aggressive with you if you're aggressive with me. It's fine.
There you go.
That's my motto. If you're gonna get aggressive with me, I will get just as aggressive with you. And good luck with all those scratch marks that you're gonna get. Which you may actually enjoy. I don't know. Again, it depends.
You
on
gotta
the
ask.
You gotta ask. You gotta ask. What are you into?
But before we go, is there any content out there that you're proud of?
Like in
In
terms
reference
of
to their portrayal of women in general, but also, but most importantly, the context of this conversation, the communication and or a relationship between the sexes.
I was just saying that I'm really into Killing Eve right now. I just watched all of Killing Eve, and that show's amazing because it's two female leads who in roles that you normally don't see women doing. It's kind of that cat and mouse, intelligent agents versus assassin, and there's a lot of sexual tension and stuff between them. But it's all about the women, and it doesn't really matter what the men are doing, and I think that's awesome.
I was about to say, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Jessica Jones is doing a good job.
Yeah.
In terms of she's a strong female person that still works really well with men, and men don't challenge. I mean, they challenge her if they're the antagonist, of course, but they are. There's plenty of good guys on her side as well, and I think it's balancing out the men and women pretty well. And we'll talk about Incredibles in a second. I thought Incredibles did a good job.
We might need to put that for the next episode.
Okay.
Well,
So let's do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Geekcaster. Thank you very much. Ladies, give the audience your social media.
I'm on Twitter at Jamie Cinematics.
and you can find me on all social media platforms at Bevin Why Not Now. That's BEVIN, the letter Y, not now.
Cool. I'm Michael7 Michael, the number 7 Michael on IG, as well as you could check us out on Geekcaster on IG. Thank you very much. You're watching Geekcaster, everything sci-fi, fantasy, geek media, and geek culture. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.